a.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern. This is your previous day candle. The reason we want to look for the previous day candle is because this is where the most liquidity sits at the highs and lows from previous day. If you haven't seen my liquidity and market structure video, make sure to watch that video as well on my channel. However, the most liquidity intraday, meaning in the day, sits above and below the previous day high and low. This is very important to understand because if you understand this concept, then you know that if the stock breaks above this level or is even near the previous day high or near the previous day low, this is a level we need to pay attention to based off of how much buyers or sellers are sitting at these levels. So what we do for the setup is mark out the high and low of the previous day candle from, once again, 9:30 a.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern. Now, once we have the previous day high and low candle mark, we now wait for the first 5-minute candle intraday. The first 5-minute candle forms from 9:30 a.m. Eastern to 9:35 a.m. Eastern. So we wait for the first 5-minute candle to form, and once the candle forms, we once again mark out the high and low of the first 5-minute candle. Now, the reason we mark out the high and low of the first 5-minute candle is very similar to why we mark out the high and low of the previous day high and low candle. This is because the first 5-minute candle has the most liquidity sitting there because it is the first candle that closed intraday. And you have to understand the majority of volume usually occurs within the first hour of the day. Therefore, the first 5-minute candle is where there's going to be the most volume. And that is exactly why we mark out the high and low, because we know the most liquidity sits at previous day high and lows, but the next level the most liquidity sits at is going to be the first 5-minute high and the first 5-minute low. And from here, all we do is wait for the break and retest. Now, you may have seen my previous video on the 5-minute opening range. However, now we're going to combine the previous day high and low with the 5-minute opening